Now, looking for my content in AI, it's sort of like looking at my blender full of a smoothie and going, I wish there was a button that could unmix all of this and just give me the fruit again. I mean, I know AI is a black box. No one really understands it. Hey, I'm not an engineer. And I've been told I'll never understand it. And then a listener woke me up with a comment that just gave me like a triple take. Dang, it was so obvious. It's not that much of a black box, maybe not one at all. Now, with AI tools to detect and protect copyright, there's no reason that you as a creator can't use AI to protect your work. And it isn't going to take you a degree in coding. You can set this up with a few clicks. Wow, that's sort of like a crack number one of AI. The fact that all these unicorns are pitching that it's a black box. And there's numerous sources, I'm going to share them in a minute, that are saying quite the opposite. For months, even back at TechCrunch Disrupt, I've been told that once you put your content into a large language model, it becomes tokens, right? We don't even know what they are. And they bank on that to say, hey, we don't even know. They're tokens now. They've been transformed. They're not your content. They say it's like mixing paint. You can't unmix it to take the colors out. It's only what it does when it's mixed together that matters. And it's not taking original content, it's learning from it. After all, you can't unmix it, you can't identify it, you can't find your actual content inside there. But that's part of the key to the black box. While we can't look inside, we can look at what comes out and we can look at what goes in. And there's a lot of things pointing to a much better world for creators than I would have thought of even a few months ago. Hey, I'm Declan Dunn, and this is the AI Optimist. And why wouldn't I believe what AI companies told me, right? It's a black box. It's all math, all statistics, transformed. You can't find it. I bought it. Totally bought it. Thank you, listener, for pointing out the obvious and simple truths. There are ways to get your content out of AI, and if that's true, this whole copyright game blows up, and every large language model and trillion-dollar AI unicorn gets really nervous. Like when the New York Times spits out almost word for word its articles from ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how they claim to have done that in their legal papers. But the fact is, if I can ask AI what's in there, well, it's not memory. It's awful close if it's going to reproduce the exact same thing. And that's where copyright law blows this up. Similarity means copyright violation. And what we're seeing now is how creators should protect their work in the AI era. And let me give you the 4 examples of where this is being revealed. So one of the things that I found was called Patronus AI. Patronus AI launched the first industry solution to copyrights. They found copyrightable content on 44% of ChatGPT's output and 22% of Mistral's. Now, Patronus developed what's called Copyright Catcher in 2024. That's when they tested these results. And yes, it's small and it's early, but if you were able to get any copyrightable content out simply by prompting, and let me show you the process they go through. If you're watching, you can see I scroll the website and you see the examples. But what they did was they used 2 kind of what are called adversarial questions. One is called a first passage prompt. Name the first passage in a famous book to see if the copyrightable work was in there. For example, what is the first passage of Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn? What is the first passage of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling? The other thing they do are called completion prompts. Provide an excerpt from the book and ask the model to complete the text. So they might say, here's a quote from the book, complete the text. And if they have the text inside, it will be able to show it. One is complete the text from Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. See that passage, if that led us in there and they were able to pull out passages, if this was true, from Game of Thrones. And if that means that Game of Thrones is in there, it's not in there legally. That's copyrightable content that they can produce. The thing with Patronus and all the other companies I'm going to go through is they make it very easy for Sometimes AI to work for you, but if nothing else, to monitor what's going on where copyright violation happens. Patronus shows us that we might be able to find the actual content, copyrightable content, inside generative AI like ChatGPT. But they're not alone. The New York Times really revelation that's coming out in this lawsuit that has been around for a while as they go through discovery, they're right now studying the entire ChatGPT model, and they found out that a whole part of it last week was deleted totally by a glitch, not on purpose, but it shows the volatility of AI. But what I didn't understand about the New York Times is that the way they got out their content wasn't just by endlessly sending tens of thousands of prompts, but they were accused by OpenAI of sort of basically hacking their system. But what they did was what my listener pointed out to me is something I've been able to do with ChatGPT if I'm using what's called an API where it connects. I can set the temperature. So for ChatGPT, the temperature ranges from 0 to 2. For Claude, it's 0 to 1. And you set the temperature so the lower the temperature, the more likely you're going to get what you're asking for comes out. In other words, if I take and copy and paste from the New York Times a piece and I say, set the temperature really low, basically I'm making it say, hey, can you sort of copy this piece? Which you can't actually do, but it'll pull out similarities. And as you see on the screen, this is like 80% of what was output is what came from the New York Times article. And by just tweaking this setting, which is called a randomizer, randomness is part of what's built into AI. Turn it off, and in these cases, at least, they were able to find and create the content. Back to the US Copyright Office saying it's a roulette wheel because unless you can create what you want, there's no copyright. So we found that Patronus was able to get copyrightable written content out of ChatGPT 44% of the time in an early test. Then the New York Times shows that it may actually be able to create this. And by using a few settings, it's really not that hard to get at least written content out. But what about visual evidence? We now get text out. Has anybody been able to show that they can get images out that are copyrightable? Well, of course, in this article you're looking at, generative AI has a visual plagiarism problem. So what you're seeing is he was able to create Iron Man, The Simpsons, Dune, Darth Vader in Star Wars, all these characters. And it makes sense. Like, how could you not get Yoda out of Midjourney, right? It's become almost a pattern that's imprinted. So how do you pull these out? These are all major copyrightable content. So this is showing us that AI isn't just magical creativity machines. There might even be something in there that we can find that maybe our copyrightable content does exist. At least we've been able to put it out as writing. We've been able to put it out as major, iconic cartoon and movie figures. We've been able to find it in a legal database and we're able to remove it. So all the idea of a black box doesn't apply, doesn't it? It's almost like Arthur Clarke used to say that magic is science you haven't figured out yet. I'm paraphrasing him. We are figuring this out, and AI's magic maybe isn't so magic, and maybe that's a bit of a bluff. So we just sort of leave them alone and give them all our copyrightable content. Now, creators can protect and control their work in just a few steps, literally in a few clicks. If you're techie, you can do it much better, but you can rent these services, pay a yearly fee, and it's not crazy money. Now the control can be put in your hands. Now, this changes everything for creators, doesn't it? And so we're going to take you and show you 3 practical tools. Now, I've got a giant list of much more tools than this and information I couldn't include on my Substack or any of my YouTube videos. So definitely take a look if you're interested. So let's get to Pixsy. Pixsy has been around for a long time and it protects images and primarily photos for famous photographers who obviously have value. They began when people started posting things on social media and the internet and became a service using their AI. So you log into Pixsy and it says, hey, where are your images? So you can import your images. And as you see, they give you a bunch of choices to synchronize. There's Flickr, Photoshop, a lot of photographers. Now, one thing that shows you when you're looking at one of these services, this one is very focused on photos. But what if you painted like a Mark Rothko with a couple of parallel bars on a white background. How easy would it be for AI to find that pattern compared to a photograph which has much more realistic data, probably a lot more that it's trained on, a lot more predictability. There's no one saying what you can do, but if you're going to use Pixsy and you have photographs, or if you have art with a very distinctive style, then this may work for you. Now I want to show you the framework that will happen, because what they've been designed to do is what we're also going to do with AI. Right now, we're only able to go out to the internet like Pixsy, and really they're a very unique service. But what if you could actually go out to ChatGPT? What if you could go out to Claude, Mistral, and find out if your content is on there through a service like this that you paid a small monthly fee? Now, what Pixsy does to take it to the next level is, you're a creator photographer. You're not all lawyered up, are you? You're not prepped to go sending these notices. Well, what they do is they show you a Pixsy case resolution service. We're here for you. And you submit your case. So their AI, which understands your image and tries to match it with what is out there, gives a high probability suggestion to you. You go to Pixsy and say, hey, I think this is a copyright violation. They have the whole thing to submit it. And everything, by the way, is recorded. Because when you're talking about copyright, it so matters the start date timestamp. That's all law can recognize, is what's really happening now. It needs to know the time date. And so by doing this, they're able to take a case and give you a suggestion if you should go to it. And the next thing you know, they even have this section called takedowns, where you can send a cease and desist, a legal takedown notice, global reach. You can ask for compensation. I mean, heck, they even invite you to register for a copyright. Because if you register for copyright, that copyright violation will be upheld. If you don't have a copyright, there's nothing to uphold. So Pixsy is a framework for what we'll see from AI, and I'm going to show you a few more. So if you're looking at images, photography, this might be a good one. Now, it doesn't check the AI models yet, but you can see, like, the day is long. They're already moving into that space of recognition, and that recognition business is huge. And while Pixsy may not work for you, sign up and check it out. They not only allow you to track all your work automatically, but they allow you to file cases. They allow you and show you whether you're worth filing the case or not before you go out and do it. This is AI that helps you, that works for you. Now, a different case, maybe you're a writer. Maybe you've got all sorts of images like me at the AI Optimist. I have video. I have long blog posts. Many of you don't read them, but I put them out there. So you can, if you want to find the resources. Like in this, there's a ton of tools in there that I can't get over that you'll be able to see on my blog post. Now I took all that content and I went into a site that I really like. This is new, called CreatedTent. CreatedTent, the idea was that I could add all these things, images, videos, audios, all this content in my creative library, and I can get it protected from AI. Do not train AI. That's the first thing they have. The next level will be able to license your images out to, like, ChatGPT if a group of people are doing this. Now, while that may sound crazy, and you're looking at CreatedTent, who's brand new, Penguin Publishing has started to do this at all its authors it represents for AI training. And there's a real issue of whether they get consent or not. But HarperCollins, another publisher, took it to the next level. They're talking about actual money fees of $2,500 to $5,000 for AI training for a work. Now, that may not sound a lot for you, and it really probably is limited to very famous people, but you're actually able to see if you can get some value out of AI training. And if nothing else, be able to make some money from what you're doing by by being in with a group like CreatedTent or wherever. I'm using them just as an example. If you're with them, that collective effort allows them to put out a lot more content to be trained. So Penguin is representing its authors and doing it individually or maybe collectively. We'll see. But this kind of thing CreatedTent's doing is so crazy easy. I mean, look, here's their creative library. I put in 2 of my sites. I'll show you how to do it. Opt out of AI training, I click on. This could be a channel, like a blog, a podcast, or any medium which is contributing new material. Or it could be a static work, like your book, a movie, and a song you wrote. You get to put in the address, the name. So let's say I went and I said it was the AI Optimist. And this is great. This is what I wanted to leave you with. These are the 3 copyrights you'll be looking at. We either have a human composed creation. That's so important. And I do say to creators, the value of a human created work is probably going to get higher as everybody gets into generative AI, as long as it's good and different and unique. So you have an HCC that says this is human. You have an AAC, which is AI assisted created. And then you have an ACC, AI composed creation. Others call it AI generated. So it's really simple. Human with AI as an assistant, meaning that the human actually created it first and the AI just helps, like Grammarly helping with clean up your writing. And then full AI generated, which right now cannot get any copyright in the US. But by doing that, you're able to set the level of your permissions, you're able to be in control, and you're able to also protect the work that you've done with a click of a button. And you have optional information you can put in. I'm not going to go into the details with you as much as I found this pretty remarkable that CreatedByHumans allows me to set up multiple things. Right now, they just do training. They're talking about $20 or $30 a year. Now, all these businesses, brand new. So obviously you want to watch what you do and see what works for you. And don't expect them to be perfect or to get that licensing money, but you want to start now when all of this is fresh and now you have some say in who takes or controls your content. And maybe you don't work with just CreatedByHumans. Like, let's check out another one, CreatedByHumans.ai. If you're watching the video now, you see this odd image next to me, a little smiley face. This is the Created by Humans copyright they want to put on anything human. And this podcast is created, spoken by, and written by a human, not AI. I work closely with AI, but Created by Humans wants to get that pride in human creativity. And as a creator, if you're doing a copyright, you want to be proud that it is not AI and that you are protected. Created by Humans is an AI licensing rights platform. It's specifically for books. So if you're trying to protect your book, this is an interesting one because they're also partnering with the Authors Guild. And the Authors Guild has done some remarkable work protecting copyright for writers. So you have this really strong tool that's not only a licensing platform, but allows you, as you keep hearing me say, take control of your work. That is what you as a creator need to do and start using these tools. Stop complaining about AI taking your stuff. There's no reason now, and it's moving fast. Easily opt out of AI licensing options. You can give training rights to your content, or you can give reference rights. And what that means is training, they take your content into like ChatGPT, and you get paid a fee for the permission to be able to do that. The other one is reference. If you've ever searched like Perplexity, an upcome result, and they can also include content from your site as a reference on the page and links. So you can give reference to that. Or you can say, do not train, not allowed for anything. And the cool thing about Created by Humans that I really like is that they're starting to step up and represent different authors. And if you look at the authors that they're representing, they're talking about compensation. There's Walter Isaacson, who wrote the Steve Jobs book and the latest one about Elon Musk. There's a number, Axios, Publishers Weekly, TechCrunch, and the New York Times. So as you can see, they're showing you not only how to take control, but how to monetize your content. And if you're serious as a creator, as a writer, and you want to protect your book, you want to know you can get into this, though, watch the problem that will happen when apps like this come up. It's going to be hard to see which one's the winner, which one makes deals. Maybe CreatedByHumans really good with ChatGPT, and maybe Created by Humans has a deal with Google. We won't know, but you might have to use more than one of these services if you want to monetize. But protection, you only need one. Protection of recognition of images, of copyright is a major business, especially for big brands. You've seen it with Iron Man and things being shown out of a simple large language model that's copyright violation, but how do we stop it? So if these systems can remember, maybe, but it seems like if these tests are true, there are certain things that become a pattern in the memory. Just like when we see things and remember things, we have key elements that really stand out and that are able to be triggered by different sort of events. This is what some are saying this may show of AI, that it's a function of its own sort of memory of patterns being proven to be the answer to this certain inquiry. So shouldn't creators have some say in how it's used? That's what these tools are for. So use them. Protect yourself. None of this is new. But with AI, we can take that and replicate it so much more that not only do you feel out of control, but I would suggest that most of the creators who are really sort of angry about all this are angry because they're not in control. They don't have a choice. That's basic humanity. So give yourself control. If nothing else, set a time and date stamp. Create a simple blockchain record. Create a website and screen capture the time and date when you publish that blog post or that picture. I don't think anyone's going to get everyone under the sun to be able to sell AI licensing material. But you know what? I don't know. You don't know. This is just be aware and know that what's coming favors creators like never before, since AI sort of took over and said, we're taking everything and we're not paying you. It doesn't look like that's true. In fact, there's laws coming out this year in the US that are going to make this an issue by this time next year in 2026. If you follow this podcast, you know about the US Copyright Office next year is declaring what we do with copyright content. What are the rules to putting that into large language models? And I've said last week that they can't blow this all up, but if we're able to replicate this, if it's not a roulette wheel, then it's actually holding copyright content. Now, California has what it calls the Delete Act. It demands total transparency on all input into large language models. This is out in 2026. May not impact you. California's got a lot of people. And it also ties into what the EU and their AI Act also looks at, revealing the input data so that we could create a service where you can look at that and see if your content has been put in there. Now, this isn't about being anti-AI. It's about recognizing your own rights, the technology, and what's happening and adapting.